What is going on, everybody? My name is Kenny Costain, and welcome to a special edition of Hornets Recaps. And on today's episode, we'll be discussing the trade deadline, players that are possibly on the move during this 2026 trade deadline. So, without further ado, let's get started. I kept you waiting long enough. In previous videos, I mentioned about a possible trades that are possibly happening throughout this trade deadline for the Charlotte Hornets. Should they make moves? Should they not make moves? Well, like I said in the intro, let's find out. The first player on this list that I have today is Trey Mann. Now, when it comes to Trey Mann, he recently signed a contract to come back during the offseason. Only a 1 year deal for this contract that he recently signed back in the summer. And with Trey Mann, he has not lived up to expectations. He has been not in the rotation lineup as of late, except when the game gets out of hand or if the team is blowing the opponent out. With Trey Mann, I don't know what the Hornets should do when if he's involved in a trade. Should they just trade some draft picks away? Should they make another player available in a trade with Trey Mann, like Colin Sexton, like Grant Williams, for instance? Maybe even Miles Bridges, because Miles Bridges has been in trade talks, which we'll get to here shortly, and Trey Mann has not lived up to expectations when it comes to Charlotte. He's dealt with some personal situations, and that probably because he's been in a situation where the coach doesn't want to play him. And with Trey Mann, he would be the first guy part of a trade, and those are my reasoning with that. Next up on my list is Josh Green, solid defender for the team, and recently came back from injury not too long ago, so a short sample size for Josh Green. And again, same with Trey Mann, he has not played up to expectations and started out great, but lately it's been sort of a no-show when it comes to Josh Green the last 2 or 3 games, but he's been contributing pretty well before those games took place over the last 2 or 3. With Josh Green, what would you do? Well, I would probably have him traded away along with a couple first or second round picks and possibly give somebody in return uh, to form another bench player that could help out. And that's my thoughts on Josh Green. The next person on this list is Colin Sexton. It's been rumored that he will possibly get traded in a deal. And an idea that I have, per se, would be getting Jonathan Kuminga in return for Colin Sexton with a couple of first or second round picks, and possibly, again, Miles Bridges being part of that deal. With Jonathan Kuminga, he can definitely start and Miles Bridges' spot. And when it comes to the starting lineup, it would be a LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Conchinipple, Jonathan Kuminga, and Musa Diabate starting group. And it would possibly be interesting if that could take place. So Colin Sexton, another guy for this list. One last thing before I get to the next player on this list. The Minnesota Timberwolves have been interested over the last few weeks for Colin Sexton. I don't know if those rumors are still valid at this time. And that's all I wanted to say on that. So Colin Sexton, the third player on this list. Now this is where it gets interesting. Pat Connaughton. So it has been rumored for the last 3 to 4 years that Lonzo Ball, yes, Lonzo Ball, the brother of LaMelo Ball, could be on his way to Charlotte with a trade that could involve Pat Connaughton along with some second round picks, according to Locked On Hornets. Doug Branson, analyst for that podcast, did propose a trade or announced that trade and a rumor that he read out during an episode earlier this week with Pat Connaughton, Lonzo Ball to Charlotte, and along with some second round picks. Now, this is an interesting pair. LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball on the same team, and it would have Lonzo Ball most likely, in my opinion, when it comes to the rotation, having Lonzo Ball come off the bench and back up LaMelo Ball, and it would bring some excitement to the Queen City, and it makes things interesting as well. And I forgot to mention this earlier that the Hornets are on on a roll when it comes to the winning streak right now, which is 7 wins in a row, and which we'll get to more here in a second. And with Lonzo Ball coming to Charlotte, I would not mind seeing Lonzo Ball in a Hornets uniform along with LaMelo Ball. It would bring some experience, even though Lonzo has not shown the numbers in the with the Cleveland Cavaliers, I should say, with the numbers that he has shown since he got traded. But with Lonzo Ball being a possible candidate, I would not mind. You would not give up a whole lot. You would not break up the starting five core with LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Antetokounmpo, Miles Bridges, and Missy Diabate. It would be not that bad of an idea. So Pat Connaughton, I salute you for your contribution, and I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I love what you brought to the team. So if Pat Connaughton is traded later today or tomorrow, once the trade deadline certainly hits on February 5th, it would be definitely a interesting trade. It would bring excitement, and maybe it can bring some potential for other players to come to Charlotte since they are doing so well with the current roster that they have and the current coaching staff that they have. So, Lonzo Ball to Charlotte, I'd be okay with that. And my final person on this list is a starter that started in almost all the games this season and is part of the strong starting five lineup. And make it a drum roll, please. Miles Bridges. Yes, Miles Bridges can be traded this coming Thursday or later today. So far, I have not heard any trades when it comes to the Charlotte Hornets at this time. It is currently 1:43 p.m. as I'm recording this video, and Miles Bridges could play a big role in what the Hornets do in a trade. So let's get started. The first thing with Miles Bridges, Giannis Antetokounmpo can be a Charlotte Hornet and a package deal, which can send Miles Bridges, Colin Sexton in a trade, along with the 2027 first round pick from Miami, 2029 first round pick for Charlotte, and the first round pick for the 2031 first round pick for Charlotte. And looking at this trade, I would say if I were Jeff Peterson, I would make that call just to see what the Bucks can offer and what Jeff Peterson can offer, and I wouldn't mind at least trying to make a call to having Giannis Antetokounmpo as a Charlotte Hornet, and I think it would probably work. It would probably not because, for one, when it comes to probably not because of his injury history as of late, and it would probably work because of the hype with the Charlotte Hornets, and it would bring a star player to an organization which we haven't seen in a very long time. And it's kind of similar to the Lonzo Ball situation. It can bring a player that can bring a lot of things. But with Giannis, with the accolades that he has, an NBA champion, a multi-time All-Star, uh, his size, his strength, that would be an interesting move. Would I say, uh, is it going to happen? Probably not. But if it did, um, I would be probably okay with that. And shout out to Ramona Shelburne from the Los Angeles Radio, who is a reporter for the NBA and who brought this idea. And people thought it was pretty okay for her to say that. It was no laughing matter. And we'll see. We'll see what happens to that. When it comes to an article that I read by Zach Roberts, which I'll link in the description down below, you can read more detailed information on the trade and what Giannis could possibly bring to the city of Charlotte. The second thing, as a part two of the Miles Bridges trade that I would possibly do besides the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade, would be adding some center depth. So I would say adding a center depth would possibly help for sure, because that's what the Hornets desperately need. And as of the roster stands, we have Mason Plumlee, who is out, Ryan Carpenter, who is a rookie, and Moussa Diabate, who is the starting piece on what the Hornets are doing at the moment. When it comes to some players that could possibly be on the move during this trade deadline, here are three big men that I'm looking at when it comes to having a trade that could involve Miles Bridges. The first player on this list is Miles Turner. He's been rumored for many, many years throughout the trade deadline. And with Miles Turner, a veteran presence, only 29 years old, so he's still pretty young and can really shoot the three ball well and add a versatile big man that can do so many different things. And that that would be my first option. Miles Turner would possibly fit on what the coaching staff for the Charlotte Hornets are trying to look for. And with so many threes that the Hornets are attempting, Miles Turner can add that and can be a presence in so many different ways. For number two on this list, as far as the Miles Bridges trade that I could see the Hornets possibly do, is get Domantas Sabonis. With Domantas, he is a veteran presence, 29 years old, and has playoff experience along with Miles Turner as well. So Domantas Sabonis, can shoot the three ball and deliver a presence down low. With that, Domantas Sabonis is my second player on this list. My final person on this list, that would be a big man trade for Miles Bridges and also Colin Sexton, if I haven't mentioned that already. Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton is 23 years old and is currently playing with the Brooklyn Nets. Not much of a three-point shooter, but can give you rebounds and give you some points and put back dunks. Now, when it comes to the playoff experience for these three players, Miles Turner has the most games at 66, Domantas Sabonis at 20, and Nick Claxton also at 20 games. And now, what player should I consider be part of the trade the most? I would say probably Miles Turner because of the playoff experience and what he's been through as a player. And again, I would say with this trade, it would be Miles Bridges, Colin Sexton, and possibly a few draft picks for one of these three players. But if I had to choose one that was rumored to be as a Charlotte Hornets player, I would say definitely Miles Turner. And finally, what are some realistic trades or scenarios I can see happening over the next 24 hours? So, number one, I can see Lonzo Ball, Pat Connaughton trade along with second round picks. So, the Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball experiment would possibly be the number one option. Like I said before, with Pat Connaughton, you wouldn't have to uh, give away too much along with some second round picks. Number two would be the center player for Miles Bridges and Colin Sexton and a few draft picks. Just like I said before, Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis, and Nick Claxton are rumored, and this would be the second realistic scenario, in my opinion, I can see happening during the trade deadline. Again, I think it would help to have a big man, and it would also be a tough pill to swallow if you're a Miles Bridges fan and being part of the starting core that has won so many games along with Miles Bridges in the lineup. And yet he has a lot of trade value when it comes to it. So Miles Bridges, centerpiece for along with Colin Sexton and a few draft picks. The third and final realistic scenario or even trade I can see happening would be the Hornets don't do anything at all during the trade deadline. If they don't do anything, that means they trust the roster that they have. And let's see if they can continue to grow with the players that they have. If they don't decide to make any moves and don't trade anybody away, like a Trey Man, like a Josh Green, like a Colin Sexton, who's been on the bench throughout this run, and with Miles Bridges being rumored as well as part of the starters. So my number three would be keeping the band together. I'll throw this in as a number four. It would be the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. I don't think it's going to happen, and with Giannis, it would be a cool thing to have a all-star caliber presence on your team. And we would have to trade Miles Bridges away, Colin Sexton away, and our draft picks, like I mentioned earlier. But we would still keep LaMelo Ball on this team and being part of this run. So Giannis Antetokounmpo would be my number four. I'm just looking back at my notes here. Am I missing anything? No, I am actually not missing anything. That'll do it for me on this episode of Hornets Recaps Special Edition. Let me know your comments down below. Are there going to be any trades going forward? Are there going to be some trades that I didn't talk about? Let me know in the comment section. And until next time, have a good one, folks. See ya. Bye. Hey, this is Post Keenan here. Thank you so much for watching. We just had breaking news come in just an hour ago. It is now 3:57 p.m. as I'm recording this update. Kobe White and Mike Conley Jr. to the Charlotte Hornets for Colin Sexton. Again, Kobe White, Mike Conley Jr. to the Charlotte Hornets. That is a well over trade and a great pickup if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan. And again, this video took so long to make. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.